Hi there. Looks like most people have joined now, which is really good. I'm sure more will trickle through throughout this session. So for those that don't know me, I'm Sam. I'm the senior account manager here at Futrli. And I see some faces I recognise, Martin and Mark and all sorts. But really good to see everyone on the call. And if you do have any questions through today's session, if you use the Q&A function of Zoom, I'll probably come to them at the end of the session. We've got an hour booked out, but that's quite a lot of time to go through alerts. I think we probably get through it in less time than that. So it should give us a good amount of time to cover any questions if you do have any at the end of the session. And yeah, this session will be recorded as well. So I'll be sending out the recording as well as a bit of a guide and any help material I think could be relevant for you guys. So you should have everything at your fingertips that you need. And obviously today's session, we're going to be running through how to configure alerts to spark conversations. And there's a great way of using a feature that at times is a bit underused in Futrli, but it's a great way that we can have monitor clients and be even more proactive. Obviously, you can see I'm working from home, as I'm sure the majority of you are. So if my dog barks loads or if something happens that I'm sure we're all kind of familiar with now, I can only apologise, but hopefully we won't have any of that, touch wood. If it does drop out, I'll just kickstart it again. Not that that has happened before, but now I've said that, it probably will. But we'll see how we go, and I'm sure it'll be all good. I'll share my screen, and we'll have a little look. So hopefully everyone can see this. Just my Futrli account, just preloaded on a dashboard that's in the majority of your accounts. But as always, I'm going to first take you to this Organizations tab. This is where we can then connect up a client to start working with them. You probably might have them already connected, but if you're needing to set one up, you simply just click Add Organization, then connect to our cloud software or others if we need to. So that client's now connected, we can then go out and build alerts. So the alerts is then this exclamation mark here. This is then our alerts dashboard. We'll see the little graphic in the middle. But what we want to do first, I suppose, is explain this area. So we've got a variety of different tabs here. So we've got attention, warning, safe, and all alerts. If you're the owner of the account, you're going to have a load of pre-populated alerts already in here. If you're someone that's just been invited in, you might not have any alerts at all, so you can kind of start afresh. Attention means any alert that has breached the limit that you've put on. So if you've said bank account is going to be alerted if it drops underneath 0, that will then be in the intention. You can also set a warning as well, which we'll come on to a bit more detail when we're setting up the alerts. But you can then set a warning. So not only will it breach if it goes over 0 or however much, you can then get alerted if it comes just before that. So kind of warn you that we're coming close to that limit. A really good way to be even more proactive, really, is by setting that alert up, because not only are we just calling the client up if the house is on fire, it's kind of getting there just before that's happened. And then we've got safe as well. So obviously any alert that's not quite at the limit and it's in that safe spot, the client's bank account is way above 0 and they're smooth sailing. And then we've got all alerts, which obviously is just a list of all the alerts you've got set up. The alerts here, I've got 3 at the moment set up for each client. This is a combination of some of the pre-populated ones that are in the account and also some ones that I've kind of set up as well. So as I mentioned, if you're the owner of the account, you'll have a load of alerts already pre-populated for you. Between about 3 or 5, I believe, it gets set up. And they are effectively a taster of what can be done. They're based off the last 3 months as an average. So this one, for example, is that. So it's an income account, and it's then taken the last few months as an average and put in the alert there. However, the last 3 months as an average is not necessarily always the most accurate reflection of what you want to track for that client. But also might be setting up alert on expenses or net profit or whatever it is, and you might want to track something else. So we need to then go through that list and either edit them or add a new one entirely. We'll also see this little graphic at the top here, which is quite clearly, I suppose, showing the ones that are in attention, warning, and safe. So we can quite clearly see the action that we need to take from our clients then. So what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to delete the alerts for one client. So these real story productions, I'm simply going to just click on one of them, then scroll down, ignore all the top for now, and just simply click delete. So we're going to say that the last 3 months as an average is not going to be very correct, probably quite timely for now, I suppose. The last few months hopefully isn't going to be the norm moving forward for this client. So we're just going to go through and delete all of these just so we can start afresh and then build out some new alerts. Cool. So we've now removed those 3. As I said before, you might want to leave some of them if they are kind of indicative of how they're going to move forward. You're going to simply edit it by clicking on the alert, and then rather than deleting it, just change any of the features that you see in here. What we're going to do now is create a fresh one by clicking Add New at the top. So here in the Add Alert option, we have a variety of features to select. Firstly, we have the account alerts and we have the formula alerts. So the account alert is anything in the chart of accounts. So it can be a category or it can be an individual account. And you then got the formula alerts, which is then building out a formula, which can be pretty much anything you want. So we're going to cover both of them, and we're going to start with the account alerts. So firstly, we're going to select our client. So we're going to work with Real Story Productions UK Limited again. And we can then change this to be any account that we're working with. So it really depends on whatever you want to track. Certainly it's key with this is to track an accurate and important feature. So maybe you might have spoken with the client previously, you've got a good understanding of what they want, maybe they've told you, maybe you've asked the sort of questions, or maybe you've also looked at their past performance and have seen what is of issues for this client. We're going to set up a few alerts. We're going to start with bank accounts, which is always a good one. Most clients are kind of concerned with money in the bank. And if you then scroll down, we'll see that we've got bank accounts as the category, or we've got individual accounts. So I'm going to select the individual account of current account here. We then got the data type. So we've got transactional or we've got cumulative. So transactional means just simply the movement within that period, which is generally for a profit and loss item. And you then got cumulative, which is the balance from the beginning. So the balance sheet side. So we're going to leave this as a transactional. As we're looking, no we're not, we're going to put it to cumulative because we're on the current account. Then in section 2 is where we're then going to put in the kind of time frame, what we're going to look at. So we've got option 1 being the specific date. So that could be really important if you're looking for maybe a meeting that you're going to be having with a client and you want to be notified kind of on the morning of the meeting of if there's anything going wrong. Or maybe more commonly, you're going to use a running total. The specific date obviously is good for something that's incredibly important. That's the date is needed to be known. But obviously once that date then passes, that alert is then kind of out of date. You need to then go in and change it. Which, like I said, can be good for certain things like a client meeting or a year-end check or whatever it is. But the running total means it always tracks the period that you've put in there. So for this one, we can then change it to be this month or this week or this financial quarter. I'm going to leave it as this month. I'm going to put it as bad news if it falls below, and we can then put in the figure in here. So I'm going to put in here, let's say 5,000. So now we can see down the bottom, it's alerting myself with the bad news when the current account falls below 5,000 during the month. So that black box on the bottom is a good place to kind of understand how that whole alert is kind of be structured and just kind of sense checking it. But we see at the moment, it actually hasn't alerted anyone, but it's alerting kind of the system when it kind of generates. So we need to ensure that we're adding in yourself to be alerted. It's quite key that we do get yourself notified then. The point of alerts is to be really timely. We want to jump on it as quickly as possible. So we don't want to have to wait until we log into Futrli to then be alerted by the pop-up. We want to be sent an email directly. We want to be on top of it. So if you're not in Futrli, it will prompt you to kind of investigate this issue a bit further. And we'll see as well that we've got this warning threshold here. So by the default amount is 10%, but we can change that to be whatever we need to. So let's change that to 20%. And then if we then tick the send warning, we'll see we've added an extra option at the bottom there. So now it's going to be alerting myself with the bad news when the current account falls below 5,000. And it also send a warning if the amount is within 20% of that value. So it's really good to have that warning, I think, as an extra step. So rather than calling the client up and being like, hey, I've seen this has happened, you're way under that kind of threshold that we wanted to be above, we can be even more proactive, be ahead of the game, and say that I can see that you're quite close to it. Is there anything we can do to support you? Should we kind of have a chat to discuss the issue further, or whatever it might be? We can have that kind of double step. The warning is not necessarily always relevant for every single alert, but it's an option there if you want to be kind of that one step ahead of the game, I suppose. We'll then click save. It's then populated that there. Perfect. So we'll see that's now in all alerts. And quite a cool feature of the alerts area is that it will show on the alert the current value of that account. So we set that alert, which is actually in safe. As we can see, it's way above the threshold that we put in there. That's 361,617.64. So certainly a lot more than that 5,000 limit that we put in there. It's quite good, therefore, that we can see that current value. And we can then maybe, if it is always drastically higher or whatever, we can then just amend that alert as we go forward. So it's always good to ensure the alerts are as up to date and as accurate as possible, so they are really tracking a good reflection of the company. Cool, that's one alert done, nice and safe. And that will then just keep monitoring it every single day. And the moment that then is alerted, if it does happen, it will then pop up for us to see. So if we set up another alert, this time we can set up something that's maybe not just the bad news, we could do something if it's good news. So we're going to do an account alert again. We're going to use the same company. And this time I'm going to select the whole category of income. Then in here, we've got the data types. This time it's going to be transactional. I got it right the first time this time. And we're going to put the time frame as totaling range again. I think totaling range is the more common option. Like I said, it doesn't then expire. We can just always be looking at the period that we need to. And it's good news this time if this month, and by all means feel free if your books on credit up to date, you can even have alerts on a daily basis, which can be really, really cool, or even this week. We're then going to put if it's above, let's say, 100,000. Then going to again alert myself with that. I'm not going to send a warning. I'm simply just going to be alerting me on the good news when this client exceeds 100,000 during the month. If then hit save, we then got that in there. So now we can see that is in the safe space of 137,834.86. So that should then, in a sec, as we there, I can see an alert has popped up, alerting me with the good news when it's exceeded that amount and the current value there. I've also received an email as well, so I can then contact the client and kind of discuss it. It doesn't always have to be necessarily a point of sale. It can just simply be a good remark. Seeing that you had this target, fantastic. That's kind of touch base moving forward, whatever it might be. It doesn't always have to be necessarily an opportunity. It's a great way just to be aware of what your clients are doing, and you can then take the action off the back of it, whatever that might be. So we've got 2 alerts now set up. Let's do another alert. And this time, if we use a formula alert. So different to before, obviously we're not just now going to use something from the chart of accounts. We can create any formula that we want to. So in here, I'm going to use Real Story Productions Limited yet again. I'm going to leave it as transactional because I'm going to be creating a formula for the profit and loss side. So in here, if I call this, let's say total expenses, I think this is going to be quite key for a lot of clients at the moment. Certainly, maybe if a client's quite reliant on their budget, they need to be really responsive to any pressures they might receive from COVID-19. It needs to be immediately responsive, maybe with cutting costs or part-time furloughing staff. We need to be maybe on top of this for some of the clients. So we're going to build out one that's going to be looking at expenses. So we can just simply search by typing in the word here and find that category. Or we can click on See All on the right-hand side here. That then brings up the full chart of accounts. In this option, we can then scroll through and have a look at anything in here. We can open up categories if there's specific accounts within that category they want to look at. Groups that we might have created. Again, you can then open them up and have a look at that. But I'm just going to be looking at other expenses here. So we've got expenses and other expenses. If I just now tab left on the keyboard, that'll then put the cursor in the middle. I can now just simply click on the plus on my keyboard so we can have them added together. So we've got total expenses being expenses plus other expenses, and we're going to leave it as a currency. Again, depending on the sort of formula you're making, you might want percentage, margins, rounding of decimal places. It really depends on however you want to work it. And then down here, we can put in the date range again. So I'm going to go into totaling range. I'm going to go if it's bad news this month, if it's below, or if it's above rather, let's say 10,000. So again, down the bottom, we can see that's populating our full alert in plain English. We're now going to add me in again. And maybe this time I'm going to send a warning as well. So send an alert to myself with the bad news when the total expenses exceeds 10,000 during the month, and also send a warning to that user if the amount is within 10% of that value. I think it's quite key with this sort of alert to have that warning. So if we are coming close to that measure, we can investigate it, contact the client if need be, but hopefully take the action to avoid that scaling out of control. Click save. Cool. So that's now been created. Let's see where that alert popped up. Okay, so that's populated as a new attention. My alert should probably pop up any minute now. There we go. So yeah, we've now got those 3 alerts created, which is a kind of a good number, I think. I kind of advise my clients maybe to look at 3 to 5 alerts per client. But obviously you know your clients better than I do. It really depends on who you're working with and what is of real concern. But I think having that number gives a good kind of amount of work to go with. When you've then got those alerts set up, coming to the alerts dashboard is arguably a really good place to first log into. So when you come into Futrli, come to the alerts dashboard, you can then kind of see what your clients are doing. You can see what's in attention, what is of kind of the burning issue that you need to look into. Obviously, you would have been sent them as an email anyway, if you've got that option set up rather. But you might want to also just kind of refresh your memory when you first log in. Same with warning. What's in that warning stage? Nothing at the moment. That's all good. We might have ones that kind of are coming close to it. We then need to pick up the phone to the client. Like I said, just kind of highlight that you've looked over the numbers, you've seen this has happened. What does that mean? Is that now an opportunity to set up a discussion? Maybe you've got a meeting coming up just the following day and you can raise that topic. It just allows you to be even more proactive using the kind of cloud technology that's at your fingertips. Same with safe, anything that is not quite there yet. Again, we might not want to then change some of the alerts. If we're constantly having all our alerts in safe, which is maybe a good thing, but we might have that alert set up inaccurately. So it'd be good to set them up so they are tracking something of value. And one thing that's quite good actually to mention is that the alerts, obviously I've set them up to be coming to myself, but you can set alerts up to go to anyone really, any user of that organization. So anyone that's got access to view that in your Futrli account. Some clients, some partners rather, do send the alerts to their client. I think it's always best really to have it coming to yourself as the advisor. It's the tool that you're going to use to then generate that discussion, generate that opportunity. So I think it's good to have it coming to the accountant to help you be more proactive. of what you can kind of help your clients out and spark those conversations. Certainly, you can then send it to different members of the team. So you might have maybe a specific client manager that's looking over that client. By all means, they can get the alerts. It doesn't always have to be the partner at the top by any means. It can certainly be maybe one individual within the firm is looking after the alerts. That's their kind of task and key responsibility. They can then take it upon themselves to be tracking everything and then letting the individual stakeholders know what's going on, and they can then take action. So I think you can be quite smart about it, but they really are a good way to be extra proactive. So that's kind of setting up the alerts, nice and straightforward. And it's, like I said, a great way to help you generate that conversation. So let's say we've now spoke to the client and we've set up maybe a 10-minute chat about that burning issue. It's a great way to then have that discovery session to find out a bit more about the client, what's going on with it. We've now seen that there's an issue. Maybe they've spent too much on expenses this month and they're now looking at certain measures. We now need to get more detail from that client. So if I quickly then go to the boards, I'm going to show you a board that been pre-built and it's in probably a lot of your accounts. If it's not, then just give us a shout. Probably support@futrli.com is the best route for maybe any queries you have. By all means, you can drop me a line. Discovery session, there we go. You also got the support team down here at the bottom right, by the way, just to make you aware of that. Really good way to get quick support. That's Matt there, and you've got Nathan there on the right, probably the two main guys that you'll be speaking with. You can see me there. I need to update that picture there, it looks a bit old. We've got, yeah, a really good support team there. So if you've got any queries, anything you see in here that you think should be in your account, or by all means, just drop them a line. So this discovery session is effectively built to satisfy that first contact point, maybe after an alert's been generated. Set of instructions here just to help you kind of get up to speed with how the board works. Quick 1.5-minute video, but effectively it's just some text cards really, just to help you understand maybe how you can draw those objectives and next steps out of the client. So we've got a variety of different questions, and by all means you can edit this card and then add in your own, just simply by typing in here. But they're questions just to then start to draw out those objectives and the next steps, like I said, for that client. The things like what keeps you up at night? Are you looking to give yourself a pay rise? Have you won any contracts? Has anyone resigned? Things that might be relevant to that alert that's been generating, such as the expenses are too high. We then want to look at kind of cost-related questions to then pull out the objectives and then look to the next steps. This is a really good board, like I said, to use off the back of maybe an alert being generated, because we can then start to discover a bit more about the client and then ultimately drive a more productive relationship and an opportunity off the back of it. Because this might be like a 10-minute call after the alert's generated where we can start to find what's going on with the client. We can then look to, if it's a slightly longer meeting, build a quick forecast in preparation for the meeting, and then show this is what your year would look like without any changes. But now you've given me these objectives, I can work this into this forecast for you. And then the next meeting, say in a couple of weeks' time, you'll present them with a more complete pack that will help them mitigate maybe what that first alert generated. Maybe, for example, their income isn't as high as they wanted to, and one of the objectives that they have is that they want to move office in a few months' time. So we can then work them into a forecast, start to build out a picture for the client, and then go back to them. And all of this has been started from having that alert at the beginning with, because you might have missed something, maybe the client wasn't aware of it, but having that alert kind of populate in Futrli and to your emails in real time has allowed you to create these opportunities and ultimately kind of be more proactive and start those conversations. That's kind of it. That's nice and straightforward. Alerts pretty much aren't rocket science. They're just a great way to be one step ahead of the game and start being more aware of what your clients are doing and generate those touch points. So I saw a few questions come in, so I'll look to them now. By all means, the Q&A function is there. If now's your chance. By all means, have a look at that if you've got any questions. Cool, so a few more coming in, which is good. Right, so I've got one question from Claire, so thanks, Claire. With the current account alert, is that items posted in QBO or from the bank feed? So that's items from QBO. So we pull in data straight from QuickBooks Online and also Xero's chart of accounts. So it'll be what's in there. So yeah, the more up to date your accounting software is, then the more accurate your alerts will be. You can then tweak the time frame. So if, for example, you reconcile the accounts on a weekly basis, you could set it to be weekly or monthly. It really depends on the state of the accounts, but in an ideal world, everything's tickety-boo and kind of smooth sailing in your accounts on a daily basis, and then the alerts can be as punchy and real-time as possible. That's what they're there for, really. But yeah, hopefully that answers that one. Cool, so thanks for Ankith. It's giving me another question here. So alerts are useful if you're accounting on a daily basis. What if accounting is started after the month end? How to use alerts? Yeah, so I think I kind of addressed that a little bit in that kind of question I rambled on about a minute ago. So you could then effectively just change the time frame. So we look at a longer time frame. If the alerts are effectively, if you don't reconcile the accounts or get the accounts in order as regularly as possible, arguably. So yeah, put them to a longer time frame. But arguably, the alerts do just work best when everything is recorded on time, reconciled quickly. But I appreciate that's not necessarily always possible. But yeah, otherwise, you could put something in the books and then it's only discovered in 2 months' time when the books are done. That obviously isn't ideal for the alert. The alert needs to be, it's happened now, we jump on it now. So the better the accounts, the better the kind of proactive nature that we can do, which kind of is the whole crux of cloud accounting, isn't it? The more efficient we can do by using things like Receipt Bank or Xavier and kind of then presenting it using Futrli, the real-time data in, real-time data out is kind of where I'm getting at. So hopefully that got that one. Cool, so Tamsin's asked a question here, so thanks Tamsin. Can we set up a 12-month rolling account alert, if we are tracking turnover for VAT threshold purposes? Is it possible to have an alert made up of cumulative data for turnover for the previous 12 months? I believe so. Nice complicated one there, Tamsin, thanks for that. But yeah, I think in the alerts we can change, in the formula method, change the drop down to be like looking at previous periods. But I think with that one, we might just simply need to build up a dashboard, like one card, where we could then have a VAT threshold, so a fixed amount. So if we're looking at kind of 85,000, for example, as our flat level, we can then have a chart which is populated every month. We can then check that on a weekly basis and see where we go to that. That's probably the way that we would achieve like a rolling alert. But with that one, hopefully those two examples can kind of help in the formula alerts, use the drop down on the period offset, or also build up maybe a card to make a bit more of a sophisticated alert. One of those two methods I think will be the way to do it. Have a go at it, but if that doesn't make any sense, then use the support team and they should be able to help you there. Cool, and Declan's just asked, you dropped out, so how did we arrive at the discovery page? So the discovery page was a pre-built template that is in some of your accounts. It's an account that it's a template that we've built, and then the account managers will put it into accounts when it's relevant. So seen by the fact that you asking how do we arrive at it, that you don't have it, so I could put it in your account, no problem. But yeah, if anyone else has seen any of the boards or anything in their account which is in mine and not in yours, then just let us know and we'll certainly put it in. But yeah, I'll put it in for you, Declan. Cool, I think that's pretty much all the questions we've got. Cool, thanks, Declan. Yeah, I'll do that. And yeah, by all means, like I said, any other questions, then do get in touch. I'll send out the recording so you've got the recording of the session. So if anything I went over too quickly, then you can just recap there. Any helpful material that I think could be useful, I'll send across as well. We're going to kind of put together a guide as well. And next week, let me just check the agenda for next week. We have got how to build management accounts for effective reporting. So I think out of the 5 or so, that's a real popular one. So that should be quite a cool session to attend. Management accounts for effective reporting. Fantastic. Yeah, I've just seen Claire as well. I'll put the discovery board in your account as well. Anyone else, just drop me a line. I'll speak to you soon. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good day now.